Happy Friday, Junior, everyone. Jason with the Simpademic. Yes, I do have my haircut here, and I am here to talk about victimhood here tonight. And I think that this is something that's permeated society as a whole, and it's taken root in several different areas. You talk about politics and a lot of the victim mentality in certain corners within the political realm. We're also talking about societal victimhood and also about a phenomenon that I've been following lately called the sovereign citizen movement. And those people are of a victim mentality because they believe that things have been done against them, and so they turn to these desperate grifters for a solution that they are not subject to laws, that they're not subject to the courts, they're not subject to the jurisdiction of law enforcement or the courts. And so they have been peddled this basically pseudo legal garbage, and they will make these baseless arguments on the side of the road with police officers or in courts. And so these people have turned to this particular theory because they find themselves in a situation where they believe that they've been a victim of, such as having their driver's licenses suspended or, committing crimes and winding up in prisons. Another area, though, of victimhood that I think is prevalent to my particular area of expertise is in the gender wars. And I think a lot of men out there believe that they're victims, and so they go for this black pill mentality, and so they use it as a means to blame women for everything, for all their problems and all their ills. And I just think it's just stupid. I actually had a session with my therapist today, and she told me that your life has been kind of one where you've been kind of pushed towards things, which is probably true, but I don't prefer to think of myself as a victim in that regard. I prefer to think of myself as someone who has overcome all that stuff and steered my way out of those situations. And I see black pill content on the internet, men blaming women for all of their problems. The MGTOW movement is very, very indicative of this. Men going their own way is what that's an acronym for. And these men just simply believe that by separating themselves from women, that it's going to solve their problems. And I got a newsflash for you guys. If the problem is that you're a victim, it's not going to solve anything. And everybody needs to take a look at themselves and figure out what they can do to better their situation. I've talked about this many times before. I work very heavily on bettering my situation, career-wise, health-wise. Just got back from the gym today. As far as food intake is concerned, can't say I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I have improved in that regard. And I'm taking a look, I'm a regular at my gym now, a boot camp type of gym with trainers who are there to help me reach my personal goals. I'm looking at, improving my professional situation. I'm looking at just taking lots of actions to improve my life. And yes, I have mentioned before that I don't really approach women for dates anymore. That said, I have a vision on who this woman is. I can't say that that's going to be necessarily a permanent state of mind for me. Especially if I find someone who is a little bit, closer to that resilient, overcoming nature that I am. And if I find that person, yeah, I probably will approach them and I probably will talk to them. It may come after conversations that I have, even prior. And I think it's very important to realize that what I'm looking for is compatibility, not chemistry, which is another thing I want to touch on real quick here before I carry on. Compatibility and chemistry are two different things. And chemistry is that dopamine hit that you get from a woman or somebody of the opposite sex. That is chemistry. It's kind of the dopamine thing. Compatibility, on the other hand, is how well your lives mesh together and what kind of dynamic that creates. I've spoken quite a few times there, in my case, on how that will play out, and I think it's going to be awesome. So, to call myself any type, I condemn men who go separatist ways. As I mentioned before, I'm a very devoted Christian, and the only part of the Bible I think that you really need to read is the very first book that has, and that's Genesis chapter 1. About the creation of Eve, because it is not good for man to be alone. And so I thoroughly believe in that. Even though it's Old Testament, it's old school, it's the first book of the Bible. And I don't think we are meant to be alone. And I think that we are meant to have somebody. Now, am I going to go pursuing and chasing and desperately trying to find somebody like some stupid simp? No. Because I think my value is just much higher than that. That's low value behavior. But this black pill internet video stuff is just bad because it provides a dopamine hit in a negative way, validating your own self-pity and validating your own victimhood. So that is it for today. That's a long ramble. I had a lot of material there, but I just wanted to touch on everything a little bit real quick here about victimhood, and also chemistry versus compatibility, and also the work that I put into my own life to improve myself. I do it for myself, but it could raise my value personally as far as a future relationship is concerned, and I think that's very important to do. So anyway, don't be a victim. Don't fall for the black pill internet content these days, and just do live the very best life and make yourself the very best person you can be. And I think a lot of the other stuff will kind of fall into place accordingly. So that's my spiel for the night. This is Jason and the Simpademic. Enjoy your Friday Junior night, guys. And that's what I call Thursdays usually. It's just Friday Junior. And tomorrow is Friday for real. I'll be back tomorrow night, and I will have something else to discuss. Peace out, homies.